Get out. Take that cursed child and leave my house. The thunder crashed as Marcus shoved his wife toward the door. Rain hammered the roof like 1,000 drums. In Sarah's arms, her 3-day-old daughter screamed against the storm. Marcus, please, the baby, she's just been born. But he wasn't listening. His eyes were wild with rage, poisoned by his mother's words. You gave him another girl. What kind of woman can't give a son? He flung the door open. The storm was a wall of water. I said get out. Sarah stumbled into the muddy street of their Chicago neighborhood, barefoot, clutching her baby. She fell to her knees, trying to keep her daughter above the water. Marcus, in God's name, please. He stood in the doorway, backlit by the warm house. For one moment, she thought she saw hesitation. But then he spat. You're both cursed. My mother was right. The door slammed. The sound echoed louder than thunder. Sarah knelt in the storm, alone. Neighbors' windows cracked open, eyes watching from behind curtains. But no one came out. She was dying in the rain. And so was her baby. But what happened next would change everything. Don't forget to watch full video story so that you can understand and you not miss next story. Share it to 1,000 people. What would you do if the person you trusted most betrayed you like this? Have you ever felt abandoned when you needed help the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe because what happens next will leave you speechless. Does Sarah survive? Who is that mysterious barefoot man? Hit that notification bell. You won't want to miss. The rain came down harder, as if the sky itself wanted to punish Sarah. She tried to stand, but her legs gave out beneath her. The baby's cries were growing weaker. That terrified her more than anything. Sure, my love. Mama's here, she whispered, but her voice was shaking. The cold crept into her bones. She looked back at the house on the south side. Lights still on. Marcus's shadow moved past the window, going about his evening as if his wife and newborn weren't dying outside. How did it come to this? 3 days ago, she'd given birth to their daughter in that same house. Marcus hadn't even looked at the baby. His mother, Margaret, who'd hated Sarah from day one, had stood in the corner, arms folded, disgust on her face. Another girl, Margaret had said, voice dripping with contempt. What kind of woman can't bear a son? Marcus said nothing. He just walked out. That night, Margaret whispered poison in her son's ear. Sarah didn't hear the words, but she saw the result. Marcus stopped speaking to her, stopped looking at her. When the baby cried, he'd leave, slamming doors. Tonight, the baby had cried longer than usual. Marcus had been drinking. When Sarah begged him to hold his daughter just once, he exploded. Now here she was, cast out like garbage. Lightning flashed. In that brief, blinding light, Sarah saw something, someone. An old man across the street, standing perfectly still in the rain, barefoot, staring directly at her. She blinked. Darkness swallowed the street. When the next flash came, the man was gone. She must have imagined it. The cold was making her see things. She had to find shelter. The baby's cries were softer now. Too soft. That meant she was losing warmth, losing strength. Stay with me, baby. Please. Sarah forced herself to her feet. Her vision blurred. She stumbled forward, not knowing where she was going, only knowing she couldn't stay here. 1 step. 2 steps. She fell. This time, she didn't get up. Her arms stayed wrapped around her baby, holding her close, keeping her above the water. But Sarah's eyes were closing. Her body was shutting down. The last thing she saw before darkness took her was a pair of bare feet standing beside her in the mud. And then, nothing. Sarah's eyes fluttered open. The first thing she felt was warmth. Not the biting cold of the storm. Not the mud. Warmth. The second thing she noticed was silence. The rain had stopped. Or no, she could still hear it, distant now, drumming softly against a roof somewhere above her. My baby. Panic flooded her chest. Where's my baby? Easy, easy, dear. She's right here. She's safe. Sarah's head snapped toward the voice. An older woman sat on a wooden chair beside her, cradling Sarah's daughter. The baby was wrapped in clean, soft cloth, pale yellow with small embroidered flowers. Sarah's throat tightened. Tears blurred her vision. She's alive? Very much alive, the woman said gently. And so are you. Though you gave me quite a fright when I found you this morning. Sarah looked around. Small apartment. Clean. A single window. Smelled of coffee and lavender. Where am I? My apartment, the woman replied. About 2 miles from where you were. I went out at dawn to check my car after the storm, and I found you lying near my building entrance. You and the baby were soaked through, but thank God, still breathing. Sarah's mind spun. How did I get here? I don't remember walking. I don't remember anything after I fell. The woman's smile faded. She glanced toward the door, then back at Sarah. That's the strange part, dear. Sarah sat up, ignoring the dizziness. What do you mean? The woman handed the baby back carefully. When I found you, you weren't lying in the rain. You were lying right at my doorstep. Dry ground. Protected from the storm. Sarah stared at her, confused. But that's impossible. I fell in the street near my husband's house. That's miles away. I know. And that's what troubles me. The woman stood, walking to the window. Someone carried you here. Someone wrapped your baby in that cloth and left before I came out. She turned back. But I searched everywhere. Asked neighbors. No one saw anyone pass by. No footprints in the rain. No tracks. A chill crawled up Sarah's spine. That's not possible. I know what I saw, or rather what I didn't see. The woman sat back down. Whoever saved you didn't want to be seen. Sarah looked down at her baby, sleeping peacefully. The cloth was soft, far nicer than anything Sarah owned. She touched it gently, running her fingers over the embroidered flowers. Where did this cloth come from? I don't know. It wasn't mine. It was already wrapped around her. Sarah's breath caught. She remembered now, just before she fainted. Bare feet in the mud. Standing beside her. There was a man, Sarah said slowly. An old man. Barefoot. I saw him standing across the street. And then, right before I passed out, I saw his feet again. Right next to me. The woman's eyes widened. Barefoot. In that storm. Sarah nodded. The woman was quiet for a long moment. My dear, there are things in this world we cannot explain. Forces that move when we are broken, when we're at the edge of death. Sometimes someone reaches down and pulls us back. Before Sarah could respond, the baby stirred. Sarah looked down and froze. There, resting in the folds of the yellow cloth, was something that hadn't been there before. A golden medallion, perfectly round, gleaming softly in the morning light. What is this? Sarah breathed. The woman leaned closer, then her face went pale. Where did that come from? I don't know. Put it down. What? The woman stood abruptly, backing away. That medallion. I've heard stories about medallions like that. Old stories from my grandmother's time. What kind of stories? The woman's voice trembled. They say when a child is marked by destiny, they're given a sign. A golden medallion that appears from nowhere. It means the child is watched over. Protected. Chosen. 3 days passed since Sarah woke in the apartment. The woman who saved her was named Mrs. Chen, a retired teacher who lived alone. She insisted Sarah and the baby stay until you're strong enough. But Sarah suspected it was more than kindness. Mrs. Chen kept glancing at the golden medallion with reverence and fear, as if she knew something she wasn't saying. Sarah had tried to put the medallion away, but every time she did, the baby would cry, screaming inconsolable, until Sarah brought it back. Then the baby would quiet instantly, staring at it with wide, knowing eyes. It was unnatural. Yet Sarah couldn't deny it. Something about that medallion was tied to her daughter. On the fourth morning, Mrs. Chen suggested, "Come with me to the farmer's market. Fresh air will do you good. And besides," she paused, eyes drifting to the medallion, "I think it's time people saw you. Time they knew you're alive." Sarah hesitated. The thought of facing whispers and judgment made her stomach twist. But she couldn't hide forever. "All right," she said quietly. "I'll come." The market was alive with noise and color. Vendors shouted, selling everything from fresh produce to handmade crafts. Sarah walked behind Mrs. Chen, her baby strapped to her back, head down. But she felt the stares. The whispers. "Is that Marcus's wife? I heard he threw her out with a newborn in the rain." Wicked man. Sarah's cheeks burned. But Mrs. Chen walked with her head high. "Let them talk," she muttered. "You're still standing. That's what matters." They stopped at a vegetable stall. Sarah stood to the side, rocking gently to keep the baby calm. Then she felt it, warmth spreading across her chest. She looked down. The golden medallion, tucked in her shirt, was glowing. Faintly, but unmistakably glowing. "Mrs. Chen," Sarah whispered urgently. The older woman turned, saw Sarah's pale face, and immediately pulled her away into a quieter corner. "What is it?" Sarah pulled out the medallion. It was glowing brighter now, pulsing like a heartbeat. Mrs. Chen's eyes went wide. "Mother of God! Why is it doing this?" Before Mrs. Chen could answer, an elderly woman sitting nearby gasped loudly. "The medallion of destiny," she cried, pointing. "She carries the medallion of destiny." Heads turned. Murmurs rippled through the market. Sarah tried to hide it, but the old woman was already shuffling toward her, eyes bright with awe and fear. "Where did you get that, child?" I don't know. It just appeared. After the storm." "The storm." The old woman nodded slowly. Yes, that makes sense. The storm is when they come. When the guardians walk among us." "Guardians?" Sarah whispered. The old woman reached out a trembling hand, hovering above the medallion. "The medallion of destiny is a mark, child, placed on those chosen by forces greater than us." She looked at the baby. "Your child is protected, watched over, destined for something beyond this world's understanding." "But why? Why my baby?" The old woman smiled sadly. "That's not for me to say. But I'll tell you this. Whoever tried to harm you, whoever cast you out, whoever wished you dead," her voice dropped, "they've made an enemy of destiny itself." A chill ran down Sarah's spine. The old woman stepped back, bowing slightly. "Guard that medallion, child. And guard that baby. You're no longer walking this path alone." Then she disappeared into the crowd. Sarah stood frozen, the medallion warm in her hand. "Come," Mrs. Chen said quietly. "We need to leave. Now." By the time they returned to the apartment, the entire market was buzzing. By sunset, the news had reached neighboring communities. By nightfall, it had reached Marcus. Marcus sat in his house, staring at the wall. His mother's voice droned beside him. "She's trying to embarrass you, Marcus. Going around with some fake medallion, pretending to be special. You should bring her back. Discipline her properly." "Shut up, Mom." Margaret's mouth snapped shut, eyes wide with shock. Marcus stood, pacing. He'd heard the rumors, the whispers, the glowing medallion, the destiny child, his wife, his child. And now people were looking at him differently. Not with pity, with disgust. He threw out a blessed child. He cast out a woman marked by destiny. Foolish man. Marcus's hands curled into fists. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. She was supposed to come crawling back, begging, broken. Not this. not glowing medallions and destiny and whispers of guardians. I'm going to find her, he muttered. What? I'm going to bring her back. Before this gets worse. Margaret stood, face twisted in anger. You will do no such thing. That woman is a witch, Marcus. She's cursed you. Shut up. Marcus turned on his mother, eyes blazing. This is your fault. You poisoned my mind. You made me throw her out. And now look what people are saying about me. About us. Margaret recoiled, stunned. Marcus grabbed his jacket and stormed toward the door. I'm going to fix this. He slammed the door and disappeared into the night. Back at the apartment, Sarah sat by the window, rocking her baby. The golden medallion lay in a small wooden box, no longer glowing but still warm. Mrs. Chen was making tea, face troubled. Do you think he'll come looking for me? Sarah asked quietly. Mrs. Chen didn't look up. Men like him always do. Not because they love you. Because they fear losing control. Sarah closed her eyes, exhausted. Then, outside the window, she saw him again. The barefoot old man. He stood in the parking lot, barely visible in the moonlight. His eyes fixed on her. And for the first time, he smiled. The baby cooed softly, reaching one tiny hand toward the window. Sarah's heart pounded. Who are you? She whispered. The old man raised one hand, as if in blessing. Then he spoke, not with his mouth, but directly into her mind. His voice deep and ancient. Your destiny is coming tomorrow. Sarah gasped. The old man faded into darkness, and the golden medallion began to glow again. Morning came slowly. Sarah hadn't slept. The old man's words echoed all night. Your destiny is coming tomorrow. Tomorrow was today. She sat watching her baby sleep in the wooden crate Mrs. Chen had lined with blankets. The golden medallion rested beside the baby, still faintly warm. Mrs. Chen was already awake, grinding coffee. She glanced at Sarah. You didn't sleep. I couldn't. Mrs. Chen sat beside her. You're afraid. Shouldn't I be? Sarah's voice cracked. I don't understand what's happening. Glowing medallions. Strange men who disappear. Destiny. She laughed bitterly. What destiny? I'm a woman with nothing. No husband, no home, no money. Just a baby and a medallion I can't explain. Mrs. Chen took Sarah's hand gently. Sometimes, child, destiny doesn't come dressed the way we expect. It doesn't arrive with trumpets. Sometimes it comes quietly, a stranger, an opportunity, a door opening when you thought all doors were closed. But what if I'm not strong enough? Then you get back up. Just like you did in that storm. Before Sarah could respond, they heard it. Engines. Multiple vehicles. Growing louder. Mrs. Chen stood quickly, moving to the window. Her eyes widened. Sarah, come see this. Sarah joined her. Her heart pounded. A convoy of black SUVs rolled down the street. Sleek, expensive vehicles that looked out of place. Neighbors gathered, staring, pointing. The convoy stopped outside Mrs. Chen's building. Doors opened. Men in dark suits stepped out, clearly security. Then from the center vehicle, a tall man emerged. He was in his 50s, dressed in an elegant suit. His presence commanded immediate respect. One security guard knocked on the apartment door. Mrs. Chen and Sarah exchanged glances. Should we open it? Sarah whispered. We don't have much choice. Mrs. Chen opened the door slowly. The security guard nodded respectfully. Good morning, ma'am. We're looking for a woman and her baby. We were told they're staying here. Mrs. Chen's protective instincts flared. Who's asking? The tall man stepped forward, expression kind but serious. I am. My name is Dr. James Morrison. I run the Morrison Foundation for Women's Empowerment. His eyes moved past Mrs. Chen, landing on Sarah. And I believe I've been searching for you. Sarah's breath caught. Me. Dr. Morrison smiled gently. May I come in? Minutes later, they sat inside. Dr. Morrison on a chair, his security outside, Sarah across from him, clutching her baby. I don't understand, Sarah said. Why are you here? How did you know about me? Dr. Morrison leaned forward. 3 days ago, I had a dream. Sarah blinked. A dream. Yes. Very vivid. I saw a woman in the rain, holding a baby, crying, begging for mercy. And then I saw an old man, barefoot, simple clothes, standing over her, protecting her. When I woke up, I couldn't shake the image. Sarah's skin prickled. The next night, same dream. But this time the old man spoke to me. He said, go to the south side. Find the woman with the golden medallion. Her destiny is tied to yours. Sarah's hand instinctively moved to the medallion tucked in her shirt. Dr. Morrison's eyes followed. His expression shifted. Recognition and emotion. You have it, he said softly. The medallion. Sarah hesitated, then slowly pulled it out, holding it in her palm. The moment Dr. Morrison saw it, his face went pale. He stood abruptly, breath catching. Where did you get that? I don't know. It just appeared after the storm. Dr. Morrison stared for a long moment, jaw tight, eyes glistening. Then, with trembling hands, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a photograph. He handed it to Sarah. The photograph was old, faded. A young Dr. Morrison standing beside an older man, barefoot, dressed in simple white clothes, smiling. Around the old man's neck, a string of golden medallions, identical to Sarah's. Sarah's hands shook. My father, Dr. Morrison whispered, voice thick with emotion. He died 20 years ago. But before he passed, he told me something I never understood. He said, one day you'll meet someone marked by the circle of medallions. When you do, you must help them. It's your purpose. Your destiny. Sarah felt tears streaming down her face. The barefoot man I saw, he looked exactly like this. Dr. Morrison closed his eyes, a single tear slipping down his cheek. Then he's still watching. Still guiding. Silence filled the room. Finally, Dr. Morrison sat back down. I came here today to choose women for an empowerment program. Business training, startup grants, housing support, mentorship. We're selecting 10 women from this region. He paused. But I didn't come for 10 women. I came for you. But why me? I'm nobody. I have nothing. You have everything that matters, Dr. Morrison interrupted gently. You survived. You endured. You protected your child when the world turned its back. And you carry a mark I cannot fully explain. But I know deep in my soul, I was meant to find you. He reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope, placing it in her hands. This is your acceptance letter. Inside, information about the program, a housing stipend, and a business startup grant of $20,000. You'll receive training in graphic design and digital marketing. And when you're ready, we'll help you build something that can sustain you and your daughter for life. Sarah stared at the envelope, unable to speak. But there's one condition, Dr. Morrison added. Sarah looked up, heart sinking. What? You must believe, truly believe, that you deserve this. That you are worthy. Because if you walk into this program thinking you're still that woman thrown into the storm, you'll never become the woman you're meant to be. His words hit like a wave. Mrs. Chen squeezed Sarah's hand. Sarah looked at her baby, then at the medallion, warm in her palm. For the first time since that terrible night, she felt something she thought she'd lost. Hope. I'll do it, she whispered. Dr. Morrison smiled. Good. We leave in 3 days. Use that time to prepare. He stood, extending his hand. Your new life begins. As Dr. Morrison's convoy prepared to leave, he paused at the door. One more thing. The old man in your storm, my father, he used to say, destiny doesn't rescue the weak. It reveals the strong who were always there, hidden beneath the weight of the world. You were never weak, Sarah. You just didn't know how strong you were. That evening, as the sun set, Sarah sat outside with her baby in her arms. The medallion rested in her lap. Somewhere in the distance, she thought she saw him, the barefoot old man watching over her. She whispered into the evening air, "Thank you." The wind carried her words away, and the medallion glowed softly, just once, as if in response. The 3 days passed like a dream. Sarah spent them in quiet disbelief, preparing for a future she never imagined possible. Dr. Morrison's team helped her open a bank account. $20,000 appeared, more money than Sarah had seen in her life. Mrs. Chen helped her pack. "You'll write to me?" the older woman asked, voice thick with emotion. "Every week," Sarah promised, embracing her tightly. "I'll never forget what you did." Mrs. Chen cupped Sarah's face. "You saved yourself, child. I just gave you a place to rest. Now go. Become everything you were meant to be." That night, Sarah lay awake one last time in Mrs. Chen's apartment, her baby beside her, the medallion glowing faintly in the darkness. She thought about Marcus. About the life she'd left behind. About the woman she used to be, the one who believed she deserved the abuse, who stayed silent, who thought love meant enduring pain. That woman was gone. Tomorrow, a new woman would rise. The convoy arrived at dawn. Dr. Morrison stepped out, dressed casually, smile warm and genuine. "Are you ready?" Sarah nodded, baby strapped to her back, medallion tied around her waist. "I'm ready." As the SUV pulled away, Sarah looked back. Mrs. Chen waved from the doorway. Neighbors lined the street, watching in silence. And there, standing at the corner half hidden in morning mist, was the barefoot old man. He raised his hand, not a wave, but a blessing. Sarah pressed her hand against the window, tears streaming. "Thank you," she mouthed. The old man smiled. Then he was gone. Meanwhile, back at Marcus's house, his world was crumbling. He'd been fired from his warehouse job. His boss had heard what he'd done and wanted nothing to do with him. His landlord served an eviction notice. Unpaid rent and complaints from neighbors. His friends abandoned him. Men he'd laughed with now crossed the street to avoid him. And his mother, Margaret, sat in the corner, silent, pale, her once commanding presence reduced to a hollow shell. "We should never have done it," she whispered for the 100th time. "Never." Marcus didn't respond. He stood at the window, staring at the street where he'd dragged Sarah into the storm. He thought about the medallion, the convoy, the foundation, the new life she was building without him. And for the first time, the full weight of what he'd lost crashed over him. He hadn't just lost a wife or child. He'd lost a blessing. He'd held a miracle and thrown it in the mud. That night, as Marcus lay in bed unable to sleep, he heard it. Footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. He sat up, heart pounding. The footsteps stopped at his bedroom door. Then a voice, deep, ancient, utterly devoid of mercy. "You had a choice, son of bitterness. You could have loved, protected, honored. But you chose cruelty, pride, destruction." Marcus's blood ran cold. Who's there? "You know who I am. You saw me in the storm. And now you will feel the weight of your choices." The door creaked open. A figure stood in the doorway, shrouded in shadow. But Marcus could see the bare feet, the simple white clothes, the eyes burning with ancient judgment. Your eyes saw wickedness. They watched a woman beg and felt nothing. They saw a child cry and turned away. So now, the figure raised one hand. They will see nothing. Blinding light filled the room. Marcus screamed. When the light faded, the figure was gone. But Marcus's world was dark. 2 weeks had passed since the light. Marcus woke every morning to suffocating darkness. Doctors found nothing wrong. Physically, His eyes were perfect. But he couldn't see. Psychological blindness, one doctor suggested. Trauma-induced. But Marcus knew the truth. This wasn't trauma. This was punishment. He sat now in his mother's house, reduced to a helpless shell. Margaret fed him like a child, guided him to the bathroom, dressed him. Every humiliating moment pressed down harder. Margaret had stopped talking. She moved like a ghost, spirit broken. One afternoon, Marcus heard footsteps. His cousin, David. "Marcus," David said. "I heard something at the market. About your wife." Marcus's jaw tightened. "What about her?" David hesitated. "They say she's doing a program downtown. Learning graphic design. Getting business training. They say," he paused, "they say she's thriving, man. Building something." Marcus's hands curled into fists. "And there's more," David continued quietly. "They say Dr. Morrison himself chose her. Out of hundreds of women. People are calling it destiny." Marcus slammed his fist against the wall. "Enough." David left, shaking his head. Marcus sat alone in darkness, chest heaving with anger, shame, regret. For the first time, Marcus understood what he'd lost. Not a servant. Not a burden. A partner. A mother. A woman who'd loved him despite his cruelty. And he'd destroyed her. Or so he thought. But she wasn't destroyed. She was rising. And he was falling. Meanwhile, downtown, Sarah stood in a modern training facility, barely recognizing herself in the mirror. She wore professional clothes, a crisp blouse and slacks. Her hair was styled. Her posture was straight, confident. She looked like someone who mattered. For 2 weeks, she'd attended workshops on graphic design, digital marketing, and small business finance. She'd learned software, negotiation, accounting. And she'd discovered something shocking. She was good at it. Dr. Morrison had told her during a mentorship session, "You have a natural eye for design, Sarah. You see patterns. Ask the right questions. You don't just want to survive, you want to build something sustainable." That's rare. Now she stood in the presentation hall, preparing to pitch her business plan to investors. Her idea, a freelance graphic design agency serving small businesses, with a focus on empowering other single mothers through training and subcontracting. Dr. Morrison had encouraged her, "Don't just think about feeding yourself, Sarah. Think about feeding 100 families. That's how you change a community." As she walked to the podium, baby strapped to her back in a yellow cloth, she felt the medallion warm against her skin. She remembered the voice. "You were chosen not to be saved, but to save others." She took a deep breath. And she began. 30 minutes later, the room erupted in applause. Investors nodded. Board members smiled. Dr. Morrison sat in the back, beaming with pride. One investor, a woman in her 60s, stood and approached. "I want to fund your agency. Full seed capital. $50,000. Let's make this happen." Sarah's knees nearly buckled. 50,000. The woman smiled. "You have vision, young lady. And courage to execute. That's worth investing in." As the meeting ended, Dr. Morrison walked Sarah back to her apartment. "You did it," he said proudly. "You turned pain into purpose. That's what destiny looks like." Sarah looked at her daughter, wide awake, staring up with calm eyes. "I couldn't have done it without you." Dr. Morrison shook his head. "No. I just opened the door. You walked through it. Never forget that." That night, alone in her apartment, the medallion began to glow one final time. Sarah held it, waiting. The voice returned, gentle, warm, fading. "You have done well, daughter. The circle continues through you now. Teach your child. Build your business. Help other women. And when the time comes, pass the light forward." "Will I see you again?" Sarah whispered. "You will see me in every woman you help." In every life you change. In every door you open. I am not gone. I am simply everywhere. The glow faded. Sarah smiled through tears. Thank you. For everything. Back in his darkness, Marcus felt something he hadn't felt in years. Clarity. He couldn't undo the past. Couldn't reclaim what he'd lost. But he could do one thing. He could warn others. The next day, he asked David to take him to a community center. And there, before a small crowd of men, Marcus spoke. My name is Marcus. I was a husband. A father. And I destroyed both with my own hands. The men listened. I threw my wife into a storm. Rejected my child. Listened to poison and called it wisdom. And now I'm blind. Not from disease. From justice. He paused, voice shaking. If you have a wife, honor her. If you have a daughter, protect her. If you've been given love, cherish it. Because I promise you, if you don't, you'll lose more than you can imagine. Some scoffed. Others shifted uncomfortably. But a few nodded. And that was enough. 5 years later. The sun rose over a modern office building on Chicago's North Side, a building that hadn't existed 5 years ago. Now it stood as a testament to vision, resilience, and second chances. Destiny Creative Agency. Large glass windows revealed a bustling workspace. 20 employees, mostly women, mostly mothers, worked at sleek desks with dual monitors, creating designs for clients across the country. In the center office stood Sarah. She was 32 now, her face more mature, eyes sharper, presence commanding in a way that came from quiet confidence, not arrogance. She wore a tailored pantsuit, one she'd designed herself. She walked through the office, greeting employees by name, reviewing projects, offering guidance, sharing smiles. These weren't just employees. They were her sisters. Women she'd personally selected, women with stories like hers. Stories of abandonment, abuse, survival. She'd given them what Dr. Morrison gave her. A door. Miss Sarah, a young woman called, rushing over with a tablet. Look, we finished the campaign for the national retail client. 6 weeks ahead of schedule. Sarah examined the designs, checking color schemes and layouts. She smiled. Excellent work, Jennifer. Make sure the client gets the preview by noon. Jennifer beamed and hurried off. Sarah continued to her office, simple but elegant, overlooking the city. She found Dr. Morrison waiting, sitting in one of the chairs, face warm with pride. You've built something extraordinary, he said. Sarah smiled, setting down her bag. We built it. You opened the door. No, Dr. Morrison shook his head. I gave you an opportunity. You turned it into an empire. That was all you. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a newspaper, sliding it across the desk. Sarah picked it up. Her breath caught. Front page of the business section. A photo of her standing in the office, surrounded by her team. The headline read, From Homeless to CEO. How Sarah Morrison Built a $1 Million Design Empire and Changed Hundreds of Lives. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. Morrison. They used your name. Dr. Morrison smiled gently. You didn't know? I officially adopted you and your daughter 3 years ago. The paperwork finalized last month. You're legally my daughter now, Sarah. Which makes your daughter my granddaughter. Sarah's hands shook. Why didn't you tell me? Because I wanted it to be a choice, not an obligation. But you've been my daughter in every way that matters since the day I found you. Now it's just official. Sarah stood, walked around the desk, and embraced him tightly. Thank you, she whispered. For everything. For saving us. For believing in us. Dr. Morrison held her, eyes glistening. You saved yourself, my dear. I just reminded you that you could. Later that afternoon, Sarah walked to the daycare center she'd built on the ground floor of her building. Children played in a bright, colorful space. Among them was a little girl with bright eyes and a confident smile. Hope. That was the name Sarah had given her daughter. Because that's what she was, a child born in a storm, marked by a golden medallion, destined for greatness. Mama. Hope ran toward her, arms outstretched. Sarah scooped her up, spinning her around as the girl giggled. How was school today, my love? I got the highest score in reading. Hope announced proudly. Teacher said I'm the best in my class. Sarah kissed her forehead. Of course you are. You're extraordinary. Hope's expression grew serious. Mama, when I grow up, I want to help people like you do. I want to give jobs to moms who need them. Sarah's chest tightened with emotion. She knelt to meet Hope's eyes. Then that's exactly what you'll do. Because you were born for it, darling. You carry something special inside you. Never forget that. Hope nodded solemnly, touching the small medallion she wore on a delicate chain around her neck. Sarah had told her daughter the story, age-appropriate of course, about the storm, the guardian, the medallion that appeared. Hope wore it now as a constant reminder of where they'd come from and what they'd survived. As they walked back towards Sarah's office, Hope asked quietly, Mama, do you ever think about him? About my father. Sarah paused. She'd known this question would come eventually. Sometimes, she said honestly. But not with anger anymore. Only with sadness. Sadness for the man he could have been if he'd chosen differently. Do you forgive him? Sarah thought carefully. Forgiveness is complicated, my love. I don't carry hate for him anymore. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean allowing someone back who hurt you. It means releasing the poison so it doesn't destroy you from inside. Hope nodded slowly, processing. He made his choices, Sarah continued. And I made mine. I chose to survive. To build. To thrive. And that choice brought us here. That evening, as the sun set over Chicago, Sarah stood alone in the small memorial garden she'd created on the building's rooftop. In the center stood a simple stone marker with an inscription. In honor of the barefoot guardian who walked in the storm. Thank you for showing me that destiny doesn't rescue the weak. It reveals the strong who are always there. Beside the marker in a glass case, rested the golden medallion, no longer worn, but preserved, protected, honored. It no longer glowed. Its work was done. But sometimes, when the light hit it just right, Sarah swore she could see a flicker, a reminder that she was never truly alone. She stood in silence, hands clasped, eyes closed. I did it, she whispered. I kept my promise. I built something. I helped others. I became the woman you saw in me. The wind stirred gently, rustling the small trees she'd planted. And for just a moment, just a heartbeat, she felt it. A presence. Warm. Familiar. Proud. Then it was gone. Sarah smiled, tears streaming down her face. Rest well, guardian. Your circle continues. Meanwhile, in a small community center on Chicago's South Side, Marcus sat on a folding chair, preparing to speak. He was 40 now, graying at the temples, face lined with years of regret. He still couldn't see. The darkness had never lifted. But he had learned to live in it. Over the years, he'd become something unexpected, a counselor. Men came to him now. Men struggling with anger, pride, the temptation to hurt those they claimed to love. And Marcus told them his story. Every time. Without shame. Without excuses. I threw my wife into a storm, he would say. I rejected my daughter. And I lost everything. Not because God was cruel, but because I was. Some men listened. Some changed. And slowly, quietly, Marcus had become a living warning, a testament to the cost of cruelty. Tonight, a young man sat across from him. Jeremy. 25. Struggling in his marriage. I just get so angry sometimes, Jeremy said, voice tight. She doesn't listen. She doesn't respect me. I feel like I need to put her in her place, you know. Marcus sat in his darkness, listening carefully. Then he spoke, voice calm but firm. That's what I thought too, Jeremy. I thought respect meant obedience. I thought love meant control. And you know what I learned? What? I learned that real strength isn't about making someone fear you. It's about making someone feel safe with you. Marcus leaned forward. The strongest thing I ever could have done was protect my wife when she was vulnerable. Hold my daughter when she cried. Choose gentleness when anger felt easier. Jeremy was quiet. But I didn't do that, Marcus continued. I chose cruelty. And now I sit in darkness every day, living with that choice. You think I'll end up like you? Jeremy asked, defensive. I don't know, Marcus said honestly. But I know this. The path you're on right now? I walked it. And it led here. To blindness. To loneliness. To regret so deep it never leaves. Is that where you want to go? Jeremy's shoulders sagged. No. Then go home tonight. Look at your wife. Really look at her. See her as a person, not a problem. And ask yourself, do I want to be a man who protects or a man who destroys? Jeremy nodded slowly, stood, and left without another word. Marcus sat alone, feeling the weight of another seed planted. Later that night, lying in bed, Marcus felt it again, the presence. The air grew warm. And then the voice, quieter now, less harsh. You have learned, son of bitterness. You have changed. And so perhaps it is time. Marcus's breath caught. Time for what? To see. Warmth spread across Marcus's eyelids. Wait, what do you mean? Your punishment was never meant to be eternal. It was meant to teach. And you have learned. You've used your darkness to light the way for others. That is redemption. The warmth grew stronger. Marcus felt tears streaming down his face. I don't deserve this. Redemption is not about deserving. It's about changing. And you have changed. Then slowly, impossibly, a pinprick of light appeared in Marcus's darkness. He gasped. Tears poured down his face. Shapes. Shadows. The faintest outline of his room. It wasn't full sight. But it was something. Walk carefully, Marcus. Your eyes have been returned not as a reward, but as a responsibility. Use them to see what you once ignored, the pain of others, the value of those you once discarded. And never forget the darkness you walked. It will keep you humble. The voice faded, but the light remained. Marcus wept, not from joy, not from relief, but from gratitude. Thank you, he whispered into the darkness that was no longer quite so dark. Thank you. The next morning, Marcus could see outlines. Blurry but real. He could navigate his mother's house without help. Could see Margaret's face, older, worn, but relieved. Your eyes, she whispered. Marcus, you can see. A little, he said quietly. Just enough. He walked outside. The sun hurt at first, but he welcomed the pain. It meant he was alive. It meant he'd been given a second chance. Not to reclaim what he'd lost, that was gone forever, but to prevent others from walking his path. That afternoon, Marcus went back to the community center. His partial vision allowed him to see the faces of the men he counseled now, to truly see their pain, their struggle, their humanity. And he spoke with even more conviction. I can see again. Not because I earned it, but because I changed. Because I used my darkness to help others find their light. That's what redemption looks like. The men listened more carefully now. Because Marcus wasn't just telling a story. He was living proof that change was possible. 10 years after the storm. Sarah stood on a stage at the Chicago Convention Center, addressing a crowd of over 5,000 people. Mostly women, mostly entrepreneurs, all hungry for hope. She was 37 now. Her agency had grown to 150 employees across 3 cities. She'd published a book, From storm to summit, building your empire after rock bottom. It had become a bestseller. But more than the money, more than the success, Sarah had created something that mattered, a movement. The Morrison Foundation, now co-led by Sarah and Dr. Morrison, had helped over 2,000 women start businesses, get training, find housing, rebuild their lives. And today, Sarah was giving the keynote speech at the Women's Empowerment Summit. Hope sat in the front row, 15 now, brilliant, compassionate, already volunteering at women's shelters on weekends. She wore the golden medallion around her neck, a constant reminder of legacy. Dr. Morrison sat beside her, 75 now but still sharp, still passionate, still opening doors. Sarah stepped to the microphone. The crowd quieted. 10 years ago, she began, voice strong and clear, I was thrown into a storm. Literally. My husband dragged me into the rain with my 3-day-old baby and slammed the door. I fell in the mud. I was dying. And I thought that was the end of my story. The crowd was silent, hanging on every word. But it wasn't the end. It was the beginning. Because in that storm, I learned something that changed my life. Destiny doesn't rescue the weak. It reveals the strong who were always there. Applause rippled through the audience. I didn't become strong in that storm, Sarah continued. I was always strong. I just didn't know it yet. The storm didn't give me strength. It showed me the strength I'd been carrying all along. Women in the audience nodded, some wiping tears. And here's what I want you to know, Sarah's voice grew more intense. Whatever storm you're in right now, whatever betrayal, whatever loss, whatever darkness, you are stronger than you think. You are more capable than you believe. And your destiny is not behind you. It's ahead of you, waiting for you to step into it. The crowd erupted in applause. Sarah smiled, feeling the warmth of the medallion against her skin. She'd started wearing it again for speeches like this. So here's my challenge to you, she said. Don't just survive your storm. Build something from it. Help someone else who's drowning. Open a door for someone who thinks all doors are closed. Because that's how the circle continues. Standing ovation. 5,000 women on their feet. After the speech, Sarah met with individual women, listening to their stories, offering advice, connecting them with resources. One woman approached, late 30s, eyes red from crying. Ms. Morrison, I just want to thank you. My husband threw me out last month. No money. Nowhere to go. I thought my life was over. But hearing your story, it gave me hope that maybe I can survive this. Sarah took both her hands. You won't just survive it. You'll build something beautiful from it. I promise you. The woman nodded, tears streaming. As the evening wound down, Sarah stepped outside for air. The Chicago skyline sparkled in the twilight. Hope joined her, slipping her hand into Sarah's. That was amazing, Mama. You changed lives in there today. Sarah squeezed her daughter's hand. We changed lives. This is your legacy too, my love. I know, Hope said softly. And I'm ready. When I graduate, I want to start my own foundation. For girls who've been abandoned. Girls who think they're worthless. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. Then that's exactly what you'll do. They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the city lights. Then Hope asked, Mama, do you think he's out there somewhere? Watching us. The Guardian? Sarah smiled. I know he is. No, Hope said quietly. I mean my father. Sarah's smile faded. She was quiet for a moment. I don't know, sweetheart. Maybe. Would you ever want to see him again? Sarah thought carefully. I don't need to see him. That chapter is closed. But I hope, wherever he is, he's become someone different. Someone better. Someone who helps instead of hurts. Do you think people can really change? Hope asked. I think some people can, Sarah said. If they're willing to face what they've done. If they're willing to do the hard work. Change is possible. But it's rare. Unknown to them, across the city, Marcus sat in a small community center office, now serving as a full-time domestic violence counselor. His sight had improved over the years. Not perfect, but functional. Enough to see faces. Enough to read. Enough to look men in the eyes when he told them his story. Tonight, he was meeting with a young father named Andre, 28, who'd just been arrested for assaulting his girlfriend. "I don't know why I did it," Andre said, head in his hands. I get so angry." Marcus leaned forward. "I know that anger. I lived in it for years. And it cost me everything." He told Andre his story. All of it. The storm. The rejection. The blindness. The years of regret. "Your wife," Andre said quietly. "Do you know what happened to her?" Marcus smiled sadly. "I do, actually. I've followed her story over the years. She's one of the most successful entrepreneurs in Chicago now. She's helped thousands of women. She's extraordinary. You must regret losing her." "Every day," Marcus admitted. "But my regret isn't about wanting her back. That ship sailed long ago. My regret is about who I was. What I did. The pain I caused." He paused. "But I can't undo it. All I can do is make sure other men don't make my mistakes." Andre was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "I don't want to be you in 10 years. Sitting alone. Full of regret." "Then don't be," Marcus said simply. "Change now. Get help. Do the work. Choose differently." Andre nodded slowly. "I will. I'll try." "Don't try," Marcus said firmly. "Do it. Your family deserves better. And so do you." After Andre left, Marcus sat alone in his office. On his desk was a newspaper clipping, the article about Sarah from years ago. He kept it as a reminder. Not of what he'd lost, but of what was possible when someone chose to rise. He smiled, genuinely proud of her, even from a distance, and whispered into the empty room. "You did it, Sarah. You became everything you were meant to be." And somewhere across the city, as Sarah and Hope walked back to their car, the medallion around Hope's neck began to glow, just for a moment. Hope gasped. "Mama, look." Sarah looked down. The warm golden light pulsed once, twice, then faded. Hope's eyes widened. "Was that?" "Yes," Sarah whispered, understanding immediately. "He's still watching. Still with us." They stood in the parking lot, holding each other, feeling the presence of something greater than themselves. And then, carried on the evening breeze, Sarah heard it one final time, the voice that had saved her life. "The circle continues, daughter. Through you. Through your child. Through every life you touch. This is your legacy. This is your destiny. Well done." Tears streamed down Sarah's face. "Thank you," she whispered. "For everything." The presence faded, warm and gentle as a sunset. Hope looked up at her mother. "What did he say?" Sarah smiled through her tears, pulling her daughter close. "He said our work isn't finished. The circle continues. And it continues through us." Hope nodded, touching the medallion. "Then let's keep going, Mama. Let's help more women. Let's open more doors." "Yes," Sarah said, kissing her daughter's forehead. "Let's change the world." And as they drove home through the Chicago night, the medallion rested against Hope's heart, warm, golden, eternal. A reminder that destiny doesn't rescue the weak. It reveals the strong who are always there. And the circle, the beautiful, unbreakable circle, continues forever. If this story touched your soul, if you've ever survived your own storm, if you believe in second chances and the power of destiny, I need you to do something for me right now. Like this video if Sarah's story inspired you. Comment below with your own survival story. When did you rise from the ashes? Subscribe and turn on all notifications so you never miss another powerful story. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, someone in their own storm who needs hope. Remember, you are not defined by what was done to you. You are defined by what you do with it.